Welcome back. It's been quite a while since I actually sat down and made something. Um, I figured I might as well come back with a Banlist video, because why not? Uh, Something you all might not know about me is that I'm also a huge fan of like sports, and coming with that is reading a lot of articles on ESPN, one of which usually ends up being a way too early power ranking for whatever sport just ended or is like nowhere near starting up. Um, Figured it's not quite banlist season. We're still like at least 2 months out. I think the new one is scheduled to come out like early January. I don't know if they'll drop it before the YCS in Pasadena. I think it would make that event a little more interesting if they did. But I could also see them holding off because it'll be the first like major in-person event, and they'll actually get a good idea of what is overpowered, what's meta. We'll get a taste of it in the coming months with like remote duel invitationals, and we have the remote duel YCS in a few weeks in December. But even that, not everybody does remote duels. Like, not all of the top players come out for stuff like that. Like, and we don't even really know what is meta right now with Burst just coming out, which is why this might be a little premature, honestly. But I thought I'd give it a crack and see if I could predict a few of these. Again, just way too early for something like this. So the first card we're going to talk about is Called by the Grave. Crossout Designator just came out in the Megatins, and it was pretty underwhelming, honestly. It didn't have nearly the meta impact people thought it would. It's nowhere near the Called by the Grave replacement that I think Konami thought it would be, because you have to run those cards in your deck in order to negate them, which means that for some decks, it's just not worth it. It's not worth hitting your consistency just to stop, like, an Ash Blossom. Don't get me wrong, the card is crazy in certain decks. I'm currently playing it in Lyrilusk, and it saved me on definitely more than one occasion. Has it also been a hard brick or a dead draw? Oh yeah. But it's still very good in the right decks. With both Called by in mind, we are going to move it to 2. I'm trying to be realistic here. While I do want to see it at 3, Konami doesn't tend to move things from 1 to 3. And especially a card this strong, I think they would test it at 2 and make sure it didn't break anything. Which I don't think it would. It's really just like, it's mostly used as an anti-hand trap measure. It's used to get around your opponent's Ash Blossom, Effect Veiler, Ghost Ogre, Dimension Shifter. It can't stop like Nibiru, like Crossout can. It is very good at like disabling some plays by your opponent. So as I was saying, this card can severely hurt your opponent's future plays. Say you're playing Virtual World and they try to activate Lulu. They have one in their graveyard. You can Called by targeting the Lulu, banish it, stops them. So I can see why it's limited, but I do think that it's a very good option for even like budget players, because it has so many printings who don't want to or can't pay the $50 or so for Crossout Designator. Moving on to Danger Nessie. Personally, I feel all the dangers could come off. It would be fine. They're really only played in like combo heavy decks that don't care if their stuff's in the grave. I can see why they chose Nessie out of the 3, because it's the only one that doesn't give you a free summon of one. It just adds another one. It hasn't done anything since they put it to 2, so I do think they'll end up putting it to 3. About as easy as that. That's really the pattern here. Just for clarity, Skulker Bat, I think, is also going to move to 3. And honestly, the same thing with E-Tele. I think all 3 of these will come off the semi-limit list and possibly leave Malicious home alone again. E-Tele is just a solid extender. I think they'll put it back to 3 to push the Punk archetype in Brand Creators, and it's not really hurting anything right now. There's enough extenders in the game that another E-Tele isn't going to break anything. And Skulker Bat is Pendulum. As little as Konami wants to help Pendulum, it's a normal summon in a deck that, like, really doesn't have a good normal summon. I don't see the problem with putting it back to 3. I'm going to skip over Dragoon for now. It put these in alphabetical order. Drytron Nova is what this big, bright mess of colors is. Something that I want to do with this list is push newer archetypes, which I'm sure Konami will be thinking about too. You want to push new product, and like Drytron, Tri-Brigade, Virtual World, Invoke, Dogmatica, Shaddoll, Amazement, Pile. Just, while yes, they are kind of phasing themselves out just due to age, I think Konami will want to push the issue a bit and almost force players to try something new, which is honestly why I think they're going to put Nova to 1 and ban Ava this time. Ava to 1 was fine, but it didn't really do anything. Like, the deck is still topping and still has, like, a fair enough amount of players. I think limiting the free special summon would actually hurt. Personally, I don't know all the monsters' effects. I know that a lot of them kind of do the same thing with, like, special summoning one back from the grave by tributing itself in hand, and then it has another effect. If you think one of them in particular would be a better hit, let me know down below in the comments. But as of right now, I'm going to stick with Nova because it has it meets the criteria of a limitable or bannable card in just free special summon. Forbidden Droplet, getting a ulti reprint and now a secret rare reprint in Brothers of Legend. It's a really strong card. It's hitting the window with a lot of these archetypes that I'm talking about in terms of, like, when it was released, like, how long has it been, and how long does it take for Konami to see something as... Anyway, I do think that Droplet has hit the window of being hittable. It's a very strong card. Whether people want to admit it or not, just non-targeting, negate, and cut their attack in half for the turn. You can even send cards that are sitting on the field waiting to resolve. Like, you can send a face-up, say, like, Tri-Brigade Revolt as part of the cost for it, which is just bananas. Personally, I'm going to put this on the limit 1, and no, it's not just because I can't afford it. Although, trust me, that did come to mind. It really does feel like a card that is way too powerful right now. There's too many decks that don't care about putting their stuff in the graveyard, or they have things that they can just send off for free and really not care. Do I actually think Konami will hit it? Not really, but I do think it's something that should go. Back to the like newer but still kind of older archetypes. People have been complaining about Tri-Brigade for a while. Tenki was an okay hit, but it didn't do anything, and nobody really thought it would. It hurt Zodiac. There's that. We're gonna limit Fractal. I was honestly torn between Fractal and Revolt. Revolt allows them to play during the opponent's turn, which is like a pretty good part of why the deck's broken. Like, I played it before Revolt started making its way into decks, and I remember sitting there and I'm like, on my turn, this is crazy, but I have nothing on the opponent's turn to do. And then I found Revolt and went, oh yeah, that actually helps. That solves everything. But then I've been looking at deck lists that have been coming out lately, specifically Bird Up or Lyrilusk Tri-Brigade. Those decks aren't even playing Revolt. They're playing, I think it's 3 Fractal, 1 Kit, 1 Karis, and I want to say 1 Nerval. But no Revolt, because they're using it as an engine, not as an end game. So I think in order to hurt the splashability of the archetype, Fractal is a better hit. It gets your combo going. It's what helps you load the graveyard. And personally, I really do just feel like it's a better hit than Revolt at this point in time, just with how deck building is coming around. Harporer, if you go back to my previous videos, just give me 1 Harporer. It's not gonna hurt the meta. Mermaid's gone. 1 special summon from deck that sure is recyclable, but I don't really have much of an argument for this one. I'm just a lowly Orcust player who wants Harporer back at 1. I mean, personally, I'd love it back at 3, but that's just being greedy. Imperial Order, get this out of here. Get this card out of here. It's an insanely powerful one of that. I think they thought that they balanced it when you couldn't just send it off and not pay the life points, and you were paying 700 during your turn and your opponent's turn. But that's a trade-off that so many players are more than happy to make to shut down the opponent. You can shut down so many decks with this card, and not even like all meta. Really, this is just a win con against a lot of rogue decks, like rogue tier 2. Flip this against a hero player, watch them cry. Flip it against a fluffle player and just watch them commit seppuku. It's even like Drytron, it's just automatic game 2. Get the card out of here. People have been asking for it to be banned for 2, maybe 3 lists now. And I think it's just time to put it back where it belongs. Lunalight Tiger, right up there with Harporer. What's it gonna do? Like, yeah, it's not a hard once per turn, but I think the biggest problem with this card being legal was Azathoth at the time. It enables some pretty cool rank 4 plays, but now we're getting all of the new automat support, which is going to do the same thing. Just give Lunalights 1 Tiger back and move on. It's another one like Harporer that I think it could be at 3 and still wouldn't do anything. But put it at 1, see what happens, and then you can move it down your list as you realize that rank 4 spam isn't actually that good with Nibiru in the format, and no Azathoth. Mystic Mine, just ban it. I'm running a single copy in Lyrilusk. A, because I only have 1, and B, because I do feel like more than that would brick the deck. But it's just such a game ender, and really just like a motivation killer. Like, somebody drops a Mystic Mine and you know that you don't have an out for it, you just lose all like desire to keep playing. Just get rid of the card. We'll find something else to hate next. Destroy Phoenix Enforcer just came out. Fluanderies just came out with their ability to tribute the opponent's field away. We'll find something else to hate, don't worry. Nadir Servant, it's right along with like the Fractal and the Drytron hits. We're going to try to push people to play newer archetypes, newer decks. It's the Searcher, it's the starter, it's the +1 for the deck. Put it to 1, and I think a lot of people will move away from Dogmatica package in pretty much everything that doesn't require the extra deck. Sekka's Light, I do think could come back to 3. Knowing Konami, it would be a 2 first, but I do think it could come back to 3 just fine. Sekka's Light is the only draw spell that they put on the list that requires a deck to be built around it. You have to run essentially 37 monsters and 3 Sekka's Light because of how the card functions. Now, yeah, I saw back in the day where people would play it in like Sky Striker and just say, I guess, screw it, I just want to draw 2. But realistically, it would be fine at 3. It actually like promotes more interesting deck building. There can be only one. I will die on this hill. 1 Tikaboo. Yes, summon limit is rough, and there are a decent amount of decks that can play under it. Somebody flips there can be only one, and they might as well just activated Mystic Mine. Like, it's almost to that level of feeling where it's like, okay, if your deck can't play through this, the game's pretty much over. And while I don't have summon limit on here, it's right up there with there can be only one. Put them at 1. Let's just get rid of Floodgates for the most part. They don't promote fun or interesting gameplay. Colossus. Hey, remember how I just said about getting rid of Floodgates? So let me explain. The format has a lot of searching, which kind of makes Droll and Lockbird pretty much required. Colossus is a Droll that can protect itself and has a much bigger booty. I really don't think 1 Colossus would be the worst thing in the world. It's the kind of card that does require a specific kind of deck building. Like, yeah, it's splashable with Nemesis Corridor floating around, but it's not as hard to get rid of as it once was. You have things like Droplets. You can Nibiru at the end of the combo to get rid of it. You have Dark Ruler. There's the Leerlusk Bird Strike coming in Brothers of Legend. There's so many more ways to get rid of this than there were when the card was banned. And there's also just the whole thing of, if we're giving everything else from TOS format one of their power card back, give them a Colossus, see what happens. I really don't think it would hurt as much as people think. Do I like the card? No. But do I think we should be fair about this? Yeah, I guess. Light Stage 3. Is the card annoying? Yeah, it's a 1 card Dragoon, 1 card Phoenix Enforcer. Even in Archetype, it's pretty crazy, but I don't think people really feel like the engine's worth running anymore. There are just so many better ways that you can accomplish things. Just let Trickstar players have their field spell at 3. Quinglong for Virtual World, you probably guessed it. We're going to put that to 1. This is another one where I was torn between this and Lulu. So they're both searchers. The biggest difference is that Lulu is kind of easier to stop. Like, yes, Lulu can add essentially anything from the deck with the right setup, but Quinglong banishes itself for cost. So really, like, an Ash Blossom is the only thing stopping it. And there's honestly a good amount of times where you've probably used Ash Blossom before they even go for the Quinglong, unless they completely bricked. This is also an on-field negate, and helps to fuel Chuche. I'm probably pronouncing Quinglong wrong, but you get what I'm saying. Overall, I just think that hitting the one card that serves a single purpose is a better idea than hitting the one card that does the same thing as every other monster and then adds a card. I wouldn't be like hurt, argumentative, whatever, if Lulu was hit instead of this. Like I said, I think they'd both be fine to hit. And you can probably also see a pattern here that we're hitting the searchers of these decks, because that is the Konami pattern. Like, you hit the searcher, you hit the free special summon. Wind Barrier statue needs to go. It's just too accessible nowadays. I know a lot of people think that, like, Cymorg is the problem. Those are the same people who think Verte is the problem. The enabler isn't the problem card is the problem. Wind Barrier statue is so bad of a lock. It forces you to run a specific kaiju in Gadarla. It forces out your battle phase, and even then you might not get there. For example, Kyle runs the Wind Barrier lock in Dinos, and frequently ends on this plus a UCT. So you summon something, and he just books it. And that's it. Game 2. That's about it. It's just not healthy for the game. It's up there with Mystic Mine, Imperial Order, like, just cards that don't make for fun and interactive games. The decks that do play it can have other win conditions. Like, Fluunderies can play this card no problem. They can just normal summon it. They don't even need Cymorg with one of their, like, 18 normal summons. But they have plenty of other cards that can just stop the opponent. They have Apex Avian, they have Rise of the Mega Monarch, which will probably be a problem card down the road. But yes, Cymorg does make this splashable. But again, let's hit the problem, not the enabler. Winda, even, like, conceptualizing this list and thinking about everything, I do think if we're hitting all the older archetypes, Winda would be the one to hit to 1. Shaddoll doesn't really have, like, a searcher per se. I guess you could hit Shaddoll Fusion if you really want to be sadistic. But, like, Winda is the Floodgate. In, like, pure Shaddoll, she's almost the win con. Yes, Construct is good, but Winda is really your win con in something like pure Shaddoll or Shaddoll Invoked. You just put Winda Mechaba on board and say, hey, good luck. It's a lot of limited. See, I still think if we're gonna hit Shaddoll, I think Winda is the correct choice there. And Zeus is getting a little too easy to make multiples of. For a while there, the only decks that could really make him multiple times were Zodiac, and like very specific, probably like rank 4 decks. But now you have stuff like Leerlust that has a monster that can just swing directly and then make Zeus. I posted a picture on Twitter not that long ago of a 12 material Zeus that I made during a game against Kyle. Like, was it a joke? Yes. But the fact was, like, could I have killed him that turn? Oh, yeah. 11 materials underneath an assembled Nightingale. You're dead on that one. But the fact that it was possible still matters. And even if he got rid of it, guess what? I can do it again. I run multiple assembled Nightingale. You have all these decks that can just make like one after another just by splashing in something like a Heartland Draco. I got hit with a Zeus and freaking Cyberdarks last time I was at locals. Anything that plays level 1s can play assembled Nightingale. And I think Zeus is in the same boat here as things like Tri-Brigade and VW. He's in that window where he is on the chopping block. So I could definitely see him going to 1. So we circled back around the Dragoon. And honestly, I think he's fine. Is he still really powerful? Yes. But I don't think we're going to be seeing anywhere near as much of him as we used to now that Phoenix Enforcer is out. People in the TCG didn't like running the bricks to begin with, and now there's another option that's around the same price range outside of like Fusion Destiny being $15 and Dasher being, God, what, like 20? It's a little more money for not necessarily the same result, but it's a boss monster that you can just play, and the fusion spell is actually 10 times better. Yeah, I'm sure I missed something. If you think of anything, or you think that something's where it shouldn't be, let me know. I might do another one of these closer to the actual list, like once the YCS has happened and we've seen what people are doing with Sword Soul and Fluonderies. Konami's not going to hit either of those archetypes directly. They just came out, which is why I'm hitting like older cards that the decks are using. But either way, let me know, and I'll see you next time.